So, Justin, we really can't finish up this conversation about Dune without talking about some of the other versions of Dune that have come out. I mean, it's still going on as far as a book series. Um, Frank Herbert passed away quite a few years ago, and his son and another author have picked up that mantle and have carried on with it. But then a few years ago, the Sci-Fi Network got it into their head that maybe they should put their foot in the water there and make their version of Dune. Have you ever gotten a chance to see that one?
No, and I refuse to watch it. And I'll tell you why. Because I feel like it's disrespectful to David Lynch. Because I am a huge Lynch fan. And while everyone knows the story and the struggle and the fan disappointment in David Lynch's film, I still remain faithful to David Lynch. So I have no desire to watch those.
Wow, you're a better man than I am. There are three now. I watched the first one the night it was on, the nights it was on, I should say. I watched the second one on DVD, and I haven't bothered with the third one. And I will tell you that you are much better off for never having watched those sci-fi TV versions. They are ab- ab- just eh, to quote the Reverend Mother, they're an abomination. They are awful, just awful. The acting is awful. The costumes are awful. The whole movie is like a fashion show gone wrong with these horrible silly hats that everybody's wearing, and it's so distracting from everything that's going on. If you think that the inner voice in Lynch's Dune is distracting, you should look at some of these silly hats that these people are wearing in the sci-fi version. It is just beyond reprehensible.
Yeah, they're like the way you describe him sounds like Oprah's or not Oprah. The way you describe him sounds like that Aretha Franklin hat that she wore at Obama's inauguration.
It they might be even worse than that hat, which I know is hard to believe, but yeah, it's very bad. Very, very bad. And the other thing, the okay, just so I don't have to say everything negative about this, the only thing that was maybe slightly better done in the sci-fi version was the casting of Ian McNeice as Baron Harkonnen, only because he was naturally very, very hefty. And I think if I have one criticism of the David Lynch Dune, it's that Baron Harkonnen is not fat enough. You know, the whole thing of him using suspensors in order to travel around because he's way too fat. And when you look at Kenneth McMillan, who gives an amazing performance as Baron Harkonnen, but when you look at him, he's really not that plump of a guy. Even with all the padding they put on him, I mean, I think they said that with the costume and everything, he weighed like 350 pounds. Well, I'm almost up to that right now, and I don't need suspensors.
God, he doesn't even look that heavy though. He doesn't. He doesn't at all. That's really interesting. I didn't know that actually. Wow. Yeah. Weird. Well, they could. Maybe they should do a Biggest Loser and digitally put in Kenneth McMillan from Dune. Like, I will. I will a little spittle on you, Gillian Michaels.
Can you imagine he'd be on there and he'd be like, "And you shall know that I, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, shall encompass your doom," and then all the contestants just like faint.
And he's got those red T-shirts on, the Biggest Loser over the thing. He's floating. He's like, all right, you have to cut that out. But
So the other thing that bothered me about the sci-fi version is, you were talking about the Harkonnens versus the Harkonnens, and to me, the pronunciations in David Lynch's Dune are the final pronunciations. So don't try to mispronounce things in the sci-fi version just to mispronounce them. I was beside myself with anger when Paul was in love with Cheney rather than Chani. And especially since Cheney just makes me think of someone else completely. So it's just like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you going after Dick Cheney? This makes no sense to me. So sci-fi version, definitely not. So yeah,